Council submission on resource amendment bill. Brent, team.
This would be updated.
Oh, there's an updated version on your desk. The substantive changes are track change, so it's easy to identify.
That's correct. Madam Chair, sitting with me, by the way, is Polly Leeming and Andrew Christopherson, who have both been involved. The version of the draft, the one that was distributed yesterday, has track changes showing the only substantive changes. I've corrected some typos and that sort of thing. I would, however, also like to suggest that paragraph 10.5.
Sorry?
I would also like to suggest that paragraph 10.5, one further change.
10.5. Yeah.
So 10.5 is referring to an assessment of how many appeals were lodged over the last 10 years and what issues were raised in those appeals.
Yeah.
The work by staff on that isn't quite complete yet, so I would recommend that that paragraph be deleted from the draft submission and it be dealt with evidentially when presenting the submission at the Select Committee.
Okay. Yep. No, that's fine.
Now, there is one other related matter which I'd like to bring to the Council's attention, and that's the work that's been done on a draft submission by the Canterbury Mayoral Forum. That's a 2-page draft submission that's been proposed as, if you like, a placeholder, whilst further work is done by the Canterbury Mayoral Forum on a more substantive submission. So there's no conflict between that draft placeholder submission and the City Council submission. They are consistent.
Good.
The fuller submission by the Canterbury Mayoral Forum, I think, will come back to the Council or to the Mayor sometime between now and the 24th of March.
Yeah. We haven't... I'm just trying to think when the next mayoral forum is.
2 months away.
Yeah. So,
You only just had one.
yeah, they must be doing it by round robin.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, but I'll circulate that as soon as it's available. Yep. Yanni?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's good. I think it would be really good for us to see the Mayoral Forum submission. Obviously, with the ECAN issue, you know, some of us probably as a council had a different position than what that collective took, and it would be good. Hopefully, in this case, I think you're aware of making sure that it's not inconsistent. So that's good.
It's only a 2-pager, but we can circulate that to everyone if that's
So
all right.
that would be cool. Just under 19.3, I think it would be really good if you could just elaborate that for the councillors. This was raised at the informal, and councillors weren't keen on this, and you've added quite a significant change. And you know, personally, I think it's a very good change, and it was something I tried to raise at that informal. So I'm very happy to see it included, but I think it is worth, just for the knowledge of councillors, given the discussion at the informal, that you just kind of elaborate a little bit about why you've put this change in.
Sure.
Thanks.
It was as a result of further work that staff did following the question being raised at the last workshop. And the question raised at the last workshop was, is it absolutely correct to say that there's duplication between the provision of financial contributions under the Resource Management Act and the provision for development contributions under the Local Government Act 2002? The case for removing the provision for financial contributions from the Resource Management Act is that it's just a duplication with the development contributions under the LGA. The draft submission accepted that it was a duplication, but the further work that we've done on this and what you see reported at or included in the submission at paragraph 19.3 points out that it isn't an exact duplication. The ability to take financial contributions on resource consent applications goes a little bit further than the ability to take development contributions under the Local Government Act. They can be for slightly different purposes. On top of that, the ability to take development contributions has some further limits under the Local Government Act. And those limits, for example, one highlighted there at bullet point 4 is that the Crown isn't bound by the part of the Local Government Act that enables taking development contributions. Another one is that the ability to take development contributions for reserves is limited to residential development. So you can't take development contributions for reserves when you've got a commercial development. Whereas under the Resource Management Act, if you had provisions in your district plan that enabled it, you could take financial contributions for reserves on commercial development, if you had those provisions in your district plan. Now, the debate is or the submission is a conceptual one, if you like, rather than one that addresses an actual problem faced by this council at the moment, in my view, because the changes that have been made to the ability to take financial contributions under the replacement district plan very much limit the circumstances in which the council can take those financial contributions anyway. So it would require some sort of change to the district plan to take advantage of this provision for financial contributions that goes further than DCs.
So perhaps we could have a briefing on that. I wasn't aware that through our district plan we were significantly reducing that capacity. And also just under 19.2, I don't know if that's supposed to be struck out on page 18. It says, accordingly, the council does not oppose the repeal of financial contribution provisions, but I think that goes against what we've got in 19.3 and 19.4. So
What says on that basis?
well, and then it says either retain the ability to take financial contributions or amend the LGA.
19.4 is possible relief.
So
That's
the council made a submission on the DC policy when the government made the changes, and that was unsuccessful, and as a result we've ended up costing us tens of millions of dollars on things that could have been charged with the DCs that now aren't. So probably the relief that enabling us to actually be able to take financial contributions is probably the preference that I would certainly like to put forward. And you know, I don't see why we should support. I don't see why we should not oppose the repeal of the financial contribution. But it just seems like it limits us, and for no good reason, and it is very different to the DCs.
And that, councillor, is what 19.4
That's what
provides for.
19.4 says.
No, I agree, but if you read 19.2, it says the council does not oppose the repeal of the financial.
On that basis, the words on that basis have meaning. They don't oppose it on that basis. And then you go and read 19.3 and then a suggestion, solution. I thought it was neat. You know, as a neat, not neat.
Tidy.
Know what I mean?
If we-
Tidy.
So if we oppose the repeal of the financial contribution provisions on the basis that would make sense. But to say that we do not oppose the repeal of is like two negatives, and ends up sort of saying that we support the repeal of the financial provisions. So it just doesn't make sense at all. Like, I think the decision we have to make is, do we support removing the ability for council to seek financial contributions?
We've said either retain the ability to take financial contributions or amend the LGA so that the trigger for taking development contributions is development occurring, not growth.
Yeah.
Widen the definition of development and provide that the Crown is bound by subpart 5 of part 8 of the LGA. That's the solution. That's what we're proposing. You either have financial contributions or you improve the definition of development contributions. Anyway, you can oppose it if you want. I thought it was very tidy. Thank you.
Neat.
And it did explain something that I didn't understand particularly well. I thought it was very helpful.
Excellent.
And I hadn't realised what a significant risk the solatium compensation payments were until I read that as well. So our submission that you have prepared for us has been very helpful in a lot of respects.
The drafters of that submission are sitting over by the wall there. That's Mr O'Connor and Mr Smith.
Very good. Well, much appreciated. All right, so now, who do we want to go to speak on the submission? Well, I think
Good idea.
we'll try and get it. So if they're down here, then we'll encourage the select committee to come to Christchurch. But if not, then we can do it by, phone or video. So, are there is there anyone who's particularly keen? I'm happy to. Happy to do it. Yeah, it's a learning as you go along position for me. Yep. Well, I think that there are some connections also with the Greater Christchurch Regeneration changes that are coming as well. So I think it would be quite good to do that. All right. Okay. Nominates the mayor. Right. So, well, I shouldn't move that since I'm being nominated.
I'll move it.
Vicky and Phil. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you.